your golf swing look like this? Well, don't be discouraged. Stay tuned for Modern Golf, featuring Dave Hill, one of America's fine young touring professionals, and Hal Scheidler, the man who believes everyone can break 80. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Modern Golf. My name is Hal Scheidler, and I do believe that everyone can break 80 at least occasionally. That's the purpose of our show, to help the average amateur to take anywhere from 5 to 10 shots off his normal game. We think that we can do this with our very simple method of teaching. Working with me throughout this series is one of the fine young touring professionals in America today, Mr. Dave Hill. Dave is an ardent student of the game and one of the real sweet swingers in modern golf. Davey, welcome to the show once again, and what are we going to be working with today?
Well, Hal, I thought that we'd use the 9-iron and the 2-iron today, 9-iron being one of the easier clubs and the 2-iron being one of the most difficult clubs. And I think that we have a way of getting across to make them all simple.
Well, I know the 2-iron is certainly difficult for me. In fact, I have to make some substitutions once in a while, and I think most weak players will certainly get some good pointers today from Davey on the long irons. A little bit later in the show, too, Dave is conducting another of his rather unusual competition experiments. He'll be playing one of the really tough golf holes, and he'll be playing two balls, playing one ball with one hand, the other ball with two hands, and we'll be keeping score throughout the series. We think you'll enjoy it. Most have found it very interesting, and I think that you will, too. We'll be ready to go to work, and we'll see you down on the practice tee in just 1 minute.
Righto, Hal.
Today we're going to talk about the 9-iron. This is a very versatile club and used considerably by both amateurs and professionals. I think on occasions it is misused, but we're going to ask the pro to tell us about that. Dave, what do you recommend as the best use of the 9-iron under normal circumstances?
Well, Hal, I prefer to use the 9-iron from 120 yards into about 10, 15 yards of the green, but I would say for the average player, he should use it from 110 up to sometimes the edge of the green, depending on what he has in mind.
You do recommend the 9-iron in some cases for the pitch and run shot for the amateur?
Yes, I do. With the pitch and run, you have to move your hands forward. You close the blade up, and for your fuller shot, you've got the hands in a natural position, and you release the club head, where in the pitch and run, you sort of pull the arms over the ball. And this is a good club for the average player to use because the shaft is shorter and it doesn't get in the way.
And it doesn't have a tendency to get away from him a lot. Dave will be showing us out there the various shots, and I'll be calling your attention to the various hand positions in the pitch and run shots and in the pitch shots. And Dave, I think that we can help everybody to save a couple of shots and get a little better idea of what they're trying to do.
Well, I hope, and I might be able to help myself.
Well, we can always use a little help. Dave will be going over the green, and we hope that you'll join us there, too. This is a relatively simple shot, but does call for concentration and confidence. Always see the club head strike the ball, count to 3, and you'll be there or thereabouts. To keep the ball low and let it run, you close the club face slightly, move the hands in front of the ball. It's almost a stiff arm shot. The right hand is never actually released. The left hand pushes the club back and then drags the club down through the ball. Choke well down on the grip and feel as though the club were merely an extension of the left arm. Note that the hands stay well ahead of the ball all the way through and that you strike down, ball first, then the turf. To get the ball up a little higher, simply move the hands back even with the ball at address and allow a slight release of the right hand. The ball will get up quickly and not run as far. This is a judgment shot and calls for considerable practice to perfect. Keep those hands firm and the head still, and don't get tense. Just stay firm. Getting it up and down from this distance will bring that handicap down in a hurry. Basic fundamentals and practice are the only answers. The major problem with most players is attempting to scoop this shot. Strike down at the ball. The club face will get it up. Just keep the knuckles of the left hand moving toward the target as long as possible, and the blade will stay square. Most people, when they're beginning to play the game of golf, have some problem with the body movements. Most of them are very stiff. Dave is going to demonstrate here how many people look when they initially start swinging the golf club. You'll notice that the legs are practically rigid and there's almost no body movement. They're just swinging the club with their hands and their arms. This, of course, defeats any attempt at a good golf swing. We have an exercise here which I think all beginners will find very helpful. As a matter of fact, no matter how you've been long you've been playing, I think you'll find this a very fine exercise. You notice that Dave has taken the golf club, put it directly behind his back, running through the elbows, and then locking the hands together in front of his body. Now, in making the turn away from the ball, he will point the grip of the club directly at the ball without moving the head out of position. Dave, would you go back to standard once again and show them that as you point the club at the ball, that there is no movement of the head. Notice the head stays in the same position. Now, for the full swing at the ball, you simply make the turn and point the other end of the club directly at the ball. And then, to really feel the rhythm of the golf swing, make the motions just as Dave is doing here. Plant your feet solidly, flex the knees slightly, have the golf club firmly in position with the hands locked in front of the body, and then point first one end and then the other end of the club directly at the ball without moving the head. Once you do this, you have now developed the entire body motion from the feet all the way up, which will give you a golf swing that we hope, for your sake, looks something like this. Keep the hands in close to the body as much as possible with all clubs. With the 9-iron, the hands will hang straight down from the shoulders. This permits you to strike out through the ball. If the hands are extended at address, it's impossible to strike out at the ball without falling forward and destroying your balance. And take that divot. The hands are in front of the ball at address, the club shaft and arm forming a nearly straight line to the shoulder. Many players can get the left side moving by feeling that the first motion of the downswing is a forward shift of the left hip along the line of flight. Actually, the entire left side starts as a single unit. Check the perfectly square position of the club face at the top of the backswing. The toe of the club points straight down, and in the horizontal plane, the shaft would point at the target. Note that the left arm is hip high before it ever bends. To facilitate the easy turn to the inside, the left knee will move back and toward the ball on the downswing. Releasing the right hand at the moment of impact will encourage the left hand to continue on in the big arc. Leading all through the shot with an extremely strong left arm is the secret of the punch shot. Try to point the club at the target. A breakdown of the left arm in this shot will permit the right hand to run over the top, and you'll more than likely hit a duck hook. The lateral shift of the left hip forward, combined with the strong pulling motion of the left hand, will force a natural weight shift. It is impossible to truly pull with the left and not shift the weight. The result will be a perfectly balanced, natural finish. Second in importance only to the left hand is the head position. See the club head strike the ball and get the divot, and be sure the head does not move forward. If the head moves in front of the ball prior to impact, the club face cannot close, and you will invariably push the ball toward right field. Balance and rhythm are basic keys to success in golf. Always swing within yourself. In other words, never hit any shot as hard as you can. Always have something in reserve. This reserve is your assurance of balance and rhythm. Again, a reminder to train the left hand and arm. Next time you practice, hit a few one-handed shots with a short club. And don't hit at it with the hands. Swing the club like this. Let the ball get in the way. Now we come to one of the really tough clubs in the bag. This is the 2-iron. This is the one that scares the amateur and occasionally even the professional, and I'm certainly most difficult club for any amateur to handle, right, Davy?
Well, Hal, that's the general idea. The 2-iron is very difficult for the average player to use because he looks down there and he doesn't see much loft and he wonders how I'm going to get it airborne. Well, it takes a very smooth swing and one has to be rather strong to hit it a long ways and still get it airborne. Most of the amateurs, they run it along the ground, and I occasionally run it along the ground, but I like to use it and get it airborne myself.
Well, Dave, this is the club the other day we were talking, and we recommend in many instances that they use the 4-wood rather than the 2-iron. But today, in case they do want to use the 2-iron, and many people would like to play the full set of sticks, we're going to do the best we can to show them the correct use.
Well, I hope we can help them.
I'm sure we can. Davy is one of the fine long iron players in the world today. Let's go over and watch how he swings at it. I'm sure it'll help you. Choking the club for the punch shot to get this session underway, Dave will concentrate on keeping that left arm like a rock until it's hip high on the follow-through. He will force the knuckles to drive all the way out toward the target, blocking the right hand out of the shot so it cannot come over and cause the pulled hook. The arms hang almost vertically even with the long irons. Don't reach for the ball. Playing the ball too far out causes you to get up on your toes and balance is lost. From this position, you can move out through the ball from the inside out and still keep your footing. Build a good approach to the ball and use it every time. This is Dave's way. Maybe it'll work for you. Feet together for alignment. Spread for power and balance. Weight centered so you feel strong and firmly planted. From the top, the left hip drives forward as the left hand pulls straight down. Hold that head, see the club head strike the ball. Let's check the bane of the golfer, the right elbow. Probably the most difficult area of the swing to master. It should point at the right hip at address, point to the ground at the top of the swing, then drive inside the hip and actually lead the hands back to the ball. With this, you're a player. Here we had an accident. Fortunately, no one was injured, but it did remind us to call attention to the hazards of spectating. To get these shots head on, we entrenched Harry and the camera behind a 3/4-inch sheet of plywood, leaving just a peephole for the lens. We asked Dave to shoot directly at the lens. This was a little ridiculous as the camera cost about $8,000. However, he followed instructions, and that blur on your screen is the ball striking the plywood just a few inches from the camera lens. Check that expression on David. To demonstrate the unbelievable velocity of the golf ball, we used the same sheet of plywood in this setup. The center hole is the peephole for the camera. The one in the lower right-hand corner is where the ball pierced this 3/4-inch wood as though it were paper. And Dave drives that 2-iron right in there like a bullet. Imagine what would happen if this ball struck someone traveling at this speed. Next time you're watching a golf tournament, give the players plenty of room. Sure, they're professionals, but they can also make mistakes. Don't gamble your life just for a little better view. There it is, a 3/4-inch sheet of plywood, and that ball drilled through there like a rifle bullet. Okay, back to work. In case we lost our train of thought, let's check the whole swing. Approaching the ball and aligning the feet with the target, the spread for balance and strength, both eyes looking squarely at the ball. The left hand will push the club back on the inside as the body turns away from the ball. The left hip will drive laterally forward as the left hand pulls the butt of the club straight down at the ball. Pretty simple, huh? Dave was getting the club face slightly closed all through this series of shots and didn't know it. He pulled several a few yards off line, and we went to the practice tee after work to discover why. We could have shot the scenes over, but why? Nobody's perfect. Even the greatest players get into bad position occasionally. That's the reason they practice every day. The tendency to lose club position at the top is often attributable to overswinging, taking the club too high and trying to hit too hard. This occurs most often with long irons, as the good player knows he must hit the long clubs hard if he's to get the ball up and maintain control. Choking the club about an inch and shortening the backswing will tell you in a hurry if this is the problem. In this shot, Dave has the hands back even with or slightly behind the ball. From this position, he will get the 2-iron up considerably higher than from the standard address. The ball will float and will drop soft with very little run. An excellent shot when you must fly the ball a long way and yet stop it very quickly. For our final 2-iron, the practice we constantly urge you to use to develop the left side. However, don't go at it with a big club. You can easily pull a muscle or strain a shoulder. Use a shorty. Take 3/4 swings. Let that club head swing. Once again, it's time to see Dave in operation as he competes with himself, playing a very fine golf hole. This is the 8th hole at the beautiful Green River Country Club, just outside Corona, California. And this is a pretty tough hole. Come on in here, Davey. I want to discuss this with you a little bit. This hole is not too terribly long, although what, it stretches out about 400 to 410?
I would say it plays right around 410, Hal. It's a very good hole. You got out of bounds left, and you got a lake out there about 230 yards, and you got a big tree on the left side of the fairway. And today I'm going to try to carry it over the tree and the water just to be positioned, and I'll have about a 7-8 iron left to the green.
The average player on this hole, though, if he hits it down the left center of the fairway, he just knocked it in the drink.
That's right. He's in and one and shooting 3.
All right. Well, Dave, I know that with the one-hand shot, we might discuss this very briefly before we go down to play the hole. I think normally with the one-hand shot, you do have a little tendency to put it right, do you not?
Well, the ball seems to fade consistently with the one-hand shot, so I'll aim it in the middle of the lake and normally end up in center or right center.
But insofar as distance is concerned, it doesn't hurt you at all?
No, I sometimes hit a little further with the one hand, if I release it properly.
We hope that you'll watch this very carefully, because we do urge that when you go out to practice, you'll try this. Take a 9-iron. Don't try to kill it. Just take the 9-iron, swing it very freely, let the club head work. Watch how Dave plays this hole, and I think you'll get an idea not only of the distance, but of the accuracy that can be achieved if you'll keep the left side strong and moving through the shot. Davey, why don't you move on over there to the tee? I'll join you in just a minute, and we'll see how it goes.
Sure will, Hal.
Good. This is a good golf hole. As Davey told you now, it's out of bounds on the left. There's a lake in the left center of the fairway, out somewhat over 200 yards. There's a big bushy tree in the left center of the fairway, which a good tee shot can catch, and then you got a real problem. So the idea is to hit it in the right center of the fairway. Then you move into a slightly elevated green that is well bunkered with deep bunkers on either side of the green. This should be a very interesting hole. Come along, let's see how the boy does. This self-competition is a feature of each show, which we use only to emphasize the working areas of both hands. The right is purposely kept out of the shot until the right arm straightens at impact. The left hand is working from the very beginning of the swing through to the finish. When you leave the left hand out of your golf game, you can't expect very much. The conventional shot with the big club. Well tagged, flirting a little with that big tree, but ending up in great shape in the center of the fairway, out about 275. With one hand, Dave will set up slightly further to the right and try to draw it back to center. Stay away from that big tree. Makes a good pass at it and turns the corner perfectly. Just short of the first and in the garden spot. With one hand, the 7-iron, and he'll have to choke it up a little. He has about 140 to the pin and could hit an 8-iron. Puts a good swing on it. The distance is just right. He played for the center of the green and left it there, about 12 feet. Dave is going with a 7-iron again, but he'll just punch this one. He can keep it low and hit it straight. He wants to drive it in between those bunkers. Just a fair shot. Dave got over it a little and left it well right. He'll have a dandy from there, like 35 feet. This is a real snake. Side hill and downhill. This is 3-putt distance. And the impatient one goes right with it. Just over the corner and down about 3 feet beyond the hole. Here he has a highly makeable putt with the one-hand ball, about 12 feet. Just misses, and will take an easy par 4. Now he has one to stroke. Makes it 2 par 4s on a fine hole. That just about wraps up another edition of Modern Golf. We hope that Dave's tips on the long irons have helped you particularly today, and will take some strokes off your game. I know that we all use the 9-iron considerably, and we're a little more used to it, but the information he gave us concerning the long irons, particularly the 2-iron, should be highly beneficial. Dave, thank you very much. I thought you gave them some excellent tips today.
Well, thank you, Hal. As you and I both know, that the 2-iron is a very difficult club to use and use properly. And I suggest that whenever anyone goes to the practice tee, they take the 2-iron along with them and spend a little bit more time on it than the rest of their clubs. And if they find they can't use it, go to the 4 or 5 wood.
This is one of the big faults with players. I think when they go out to the practice tee, Dave, they have a tendency to practice with the club they hit the best.
Yes, that's everybody likes to hit it good out there. Even I go out and use the ones I like best, and I only practice with a 2 or 3-iron when I feel like I have to have it. But I'm wrong there, too.
And without that 2-iron in your bag, you wouldn't be too long on the Pro Tour.
That's for sure.
Fine, excellent advice. I'd like to see you, when you go out to the practice tee, at least work a few shots with that 2-iron. Difficult though it is, the place to miss them is on the practice tee. I think that's pretty much our story for today. We'll be back with you again next week, same time, same station. Until then, this is Hal Scheidler speaking for Dave Hill and reminding you, keep your head down and your left arm straight, and believe me, you can break 80.